The wind screamed through the narrow mountain pass like a living creature, rattling the thin wooden signposts and whipping loose snow into jagged clouds. 8-year-old Lily pressed her small frame against the icy gusts, hugging her threadbare scarf tightly around her neck. Her boots sank deep into the snow with every step, cold seeping into her bones despite the layers of worn clothing she wore. She had been sent on a simple errand by her foster family, just a quick trip to the small supply store on the edge of the village, but the sudden blizzard had transformed the familiar path into an endless white labyrinth. Her tiny hands were red and stiff, her breath forming ghostly clouds in the freezing air. Each step forward felt like climbing a mountain, and the loneliness weighed on her more than the cold. Trees twisted like skeletal fingers beside the path, their bare branches cracking under the weight of snow. The silence was eerie, broken only by the occasional groan of the wind. Lily shivered, feeling the creeping fear of being utterly alone. As she struggled forward, her boot caught something solid beneath the snow. She stumbled, falling face first into the icy ground. Scrambling up, she brushed away the powder, revealing a strange shape buried under several inches of snow. It was bulky, almost human in outline, and for a moment, panic surged through her small chest. Cautiously, she approached. Her fingers, numb and trembling, dug into the icy crust. She lifted the snow and gasped. It was a man. He was slumped sideways, his body almost hidden beneath the frozen blanket. A thick biker jacket covered him, dusted with snow that glittered in the pale light of the storm. His helmet had partially fallen to the side, revealing dark, frost-covered hair and a pale, rigid face. Lily froze, a lump forming in her throat. She had never seen someone so still, so completely vulnerable. "Are you alive?" she whispered, her voice barely audible over the howl of the wind. The men did not move. Panic surged, but instinct drove her forward. She remembered the small first aid kit her foster family had given her for emergencies. It was tiny, meant for scrapes and cuts, but it was all she had. Kneeling beside him, Lily ripped open the kit. She pulled out the small cloths and bandages and began pressing them against his frostbitten hands. The snow around them muffled her trembling fingers as she worked, wrapping warmth and care into a man who could barely respond. Minutes passed. The storm raged around them, but Lily refused to leave. "You have to wake up," she muttered fiercely. You can't stay here." Her words were almost a prayer, carried out of desperation and fear. A cough cut through the storm, a deep, rasping sound that made her flinch. The man's eyes flickered open, confusion clouding his gaze. For a moment, he could not speak, could barely lift his head. Then his lips moved. "You saved me." Lily nodded, a small smile breaking through the tears on her cheeks. I couldn't leave you there. You were cold. I didn't want you to die." The man tried to rise, but the snow had formed a frozen trap around him. Lily's small hands clutched at his arm. "Don't move too much," she warned. "I'll get help." She ran. The wind lashed at her face, tearing at her scarf and turning it into a whip of icy threads. Her legs screamed with exhaustion, but adrenaline carried her forward. Down the mountain, the village was a blur, a cluster of smoke rising from chimneys, windows glowing faintly against the storm. She pounded on doors, shouted for help, her small voice cracking under the strain. Finally, a door opened, and a burly villager pulled her inside. Between sobs and frantic words, Lily explained what had happened. Within moments, a group of villagers, armed with shovels and blankets, followed her into the storm. When they arrived at the spot, the scene was surreal. The man lay partially uncovered, his breath coming in ragged gasps, frost melting slowly from his jacket. The villagers worked quickly, freeing him from the snow and wrapping him in heavy blankets. Lily stood back, trembling from exhaustion, watching as life returned to his pale face. By the time the storm began to fade, the man was sitting upright, supported by the villagers. He looked at Lily with wide eyes, gratitude and astonishment mingling in his gaze. You saved me," he whispered again, more firmly this time. Lily shrugged, shivering. "I just did what anyone would do. I couldn't leave you there." But the man knew this was no ordinary act. He had been riding alone through treacherous mountain paths, a courier of his motorcycle club, when the blizzard had trapped him. Alone, freezing, buried in snow, he had expected death. Yet this little girl, small and fragile, had found him, fought through the storm, and refused to abandon him. "You're brave," he said, his voice stronger now. "Braver than most grown men I know." The villagers murmured among themselves, impressed and bewildered. A child had saved a grown man in the dead of winter, battling a storm that would have stopped many seasoned adults. It seemed impossible, almost miraculous. As the man recovered, he asked for the girl's name. Lily, she said softly. Lily Grace. The man smiled faintly, a warm, rare expression against his rugged, frostbitten face. Lily Grace, he repeated, as if the name itself held a power he had never known. He reached into his pocket and handed her a small leather charm, a token, worn but meaningful, from the motorcycle club he led. Keep this, he said. It's a symbol of protection, of strength. You deserve it more than anyone I know. Lily stared at it, wide-eyed. She had no idea who this man truly was, or the weight of the world he carried on his shoulders. All she knew was that she had done the right thing, and somehow, that had made a difference, and in that moment, the snow seemed less threatening, the wind less cruel. Lily realized that courage did not come from size, or age, or strength. It came from the heart, and hers had saved a life that day. As the man stood, brushing snow from his jacket and flexing his stiff fingers, he looked down at her with something she had never seen before, respect, awe, and a deep gratitude that transcended words. Lily's small act had changed everything, though she could not yet understand how far the ripple would go. Little did she know, this was only the beginning. The man she had saved was Jack's rider, leader of a motorcycle club with thousands of loyal riders. And Lily Grace, the orphan girl with courage beyond her years, was about to become the reason 5,000 hardened bikers would bow their heads in respect. When Jack's rider finally recovered from the frostbite and exhaustion, he could not stop thinking about the small girl who had risked her life to save him. He replayed every detail in his mind, the way she had dug him out of the snow, how her tiny hands had wrapped his frozen fingers, and the determined, unwavering look in her wide eyes. Most adults would have fled, but not Lily. He knew instantly that such courage deserved more than thanks. It demanded recognition. And Jack's rider, the leader of one of the largest motorcycle clubs in the country, was a man who honored respect above all else. Word spread quickly through the club. The tale of the little girl who had saved their leader in the dead of a winter storm became legend overnight. Messages were sent, motorcycles were started, and within days, riders from every corner of the nation were converging on the small village nestled at the base of the mountains. Not to cause trouble, not to show force, but to honor a child's bravery. Lily's foster family could hardly believe it. The first motorcycles roared into the village, engines thundering through the snow-covered streets, startling chickens, and scattering loose snow from the rooftops. Villagers peeked from windows, jaws dropped in disbelief. Hundreds of riders arrived first, then thousands more, forming a sea of black leather jackets, chrome bikes, and silent determination. Lily had been warned to stay inside, but her curiosity, and a sense that something extraordinary was about to happen, pulled her toward the village square. As she stepped out into the cold, she froze. There, before her eyes, were thousands of riders, stretching beyond the horizon, engines idling in perfect unison. The snow crunched under her boots, but it was the silence that struck her hardest point. One by one, the bikers removed their helmets, letting the winter wind toss their hair and sweat into chaotic patterns. One by one, they knelt in the snow. And then, one by one, they bowed their heads, not in mockery, not in jest, but in reverent respect. Jack's rider stepped forward, his heavy boots leaving deep imprints in the snow. He approached Lily slowly, ensuring the moment was perfect. Around him, the bikers remained silent, a quiet army paying homage to courage in its purest form. You saved more than me, Jack said, his voice carrying over the frozen square, steady and commanding. You reminded all of us what bravery truly means. Not strength, not numbers, not power, just heart. You risked your life for another. That is something we will never forget. Lily's eyes widened. She shook her head, barely able to speak. I didn't do anything special, she whispered, her voice small against the roar of the motorcycles behind him. Jax knelt beside her. His gloved hand gently brushed a strand of hair from her face. No, he said firmly. You did. You changed everything. He handed her the same leather charm he had given her on the mountain, a symbol of protection, courage, and respect. But this time, it felt heavier, as if it carried the weight of thousands of riders' gratitude. The bikers around them shifted slightly, forming a protective circle. The cold no longer seemed threatening. The roar of the engines had fallen silent, replaced by a quiet that was almost sacred. Lily realized, for the first time, the scale of what she had done. One small act of courage had commanded the respect of thousands of people who were known for strength, toughness, and unshakable resolve, some of the older riders stepped forward, placing their hands over their hearts in silent tribute. A few younger ones knelt, bowing not just to Lily, but to the reminder of innocence and bravery that she represented. A motherly warmth washed over her, mixed with disbelief. She had always felt small, powerless, and invisible, but now, standing in the snow, surrounded by thousands of hardened bikers, she realized how powerful one person could be. Jack signaled to the riders. Engines roared in unison, but not in intimidation, rather, a salute, a symphony of respect. The vibrations hummed through Lily's chest. She felt every thrum of the motorcycles, every shared heartbeat of gratitude, and her eyes glistened with tears. She had never been a part of anything so enormous, so profound. "Lily Grace," Jack said, his voice rising so everyone could hear. "Remember this day. Remember that courage, kindness, and selflessness matter. You have taught us all something we thought we knew, but now see anew. You are a leader in your own right, and today, every one of these riders bows to your bravery." For the next several hours, the village became a scene from a legend. Riders helped repair homes damaged by the storm, cleared snow from paths, and offered supplies to villagers in need. But all eyes returned, again and again, to the small girl who had inspired them. Lily, shy yet proud, accepted their gratitude with quiet grace. By the time the sun dipped behind the snow-dusted mountains, Lily understood something she never had before. Heroism is not measured by size, wealth, or fame. It is measured by the courage to act when fear whispers to stay silent, by the compassion that reaches out when the world seems frozen and indifferent. And that day, she had shown thousands what true courage looked like. Before leaving, Jax rode up on his bike to the girl once more. "Remember," he said softly, "this isn't the end. You've changed our lives. You've changed mine. Never doubt that one small act can create a ripple so powerful, it can move mountains, or thousands of riders." Lily smiled, clutching the leather charm tightly to her chest. She knew this was a moment she would never forget, the day the storm could not bury bravery, the day a little orphan girl commanded the respect of 5,000 bikers, and as the engines roared to life and the riders disappeared down the mountain pass, leaving a trail of snow and echoes of gratitude, Lily realized something even more important. Courage, compassion, and heart are never measured by age, but by the willingness to stand up when it matters most. In the years to come, villagers would speak of that day as a miracle, a story to inspire generations. But for Lily, it was simply the day she had chosen to do what was right, and in doing so, had become a legend.